Good morning. Welcome back to Passionate World Talk, wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network LLC. Educate, enlighten, entertain, and let's not forget mindfulness. On today's special report with Lillian is an article written by Paul Rosenzweig for The Atlantic, and the title is by Rick Hasen. And the title that Mr. Hasen has provided is Trump is Already Undermining the Next Election. The new reality is Americans have always valued the rule of law. Although our court system does have limited capability to act as a guardrail against the current administration's authoritarianism. And so our elections matter. It's the final and most powerful check on the current administration. And the current president knows this. And that is why he's now turned his attention towards our electoral system. His recent executive order on election integrity is nothing less than an attempt to disenfranchise his opponents and forestall electoral defeat. Some of it is technical, but the fundamentals of the current president's challenge to free and fair elections are easy to understand, but it is an attempt to completely rework the constitutional laws and rules that structure the American election system. And for that, one needs to be careful of what they wish for with his current president. The White House has issued a document preserving and protecting the integrity of American elections. And the document goes on to say, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby order. Section 1, Purpose and Policy. Despite pioneering self-government, the United States now fails to enforce basic and necessary election protections employed by modern developed nations as well as those still developing, India and Brazil, for example, are trying voter identification to a biometric database, while the United States largely relies on self-attestation for citizenship. In tabulating votes, Germany and Canada require use of paper ballots, counted in public by local officials, which substantially reduces the number of disputes as compared to the American patchwork of voting methods that can lead to basic chain of custody problems. Of course, you have to understand, this is my opinion, that's all in his mind. It has nothing to do with reality. We've been voting this way for a long time. And he's the first president to ever decide to change it himself, not for the good of the people, but for the good of his party. One party, the Republican Party. Everybody else is not valid and won't be recognized by them. And he goes to complain many Americans now having mail, who's accepting without postmarks, or these received well after election. And he's already been fact checked on all this, and it's proved to be false or negligible. It's in his own mind. Free, fair, and honest elections unmarred by fraud. Well, he should know since he's the king of fraud. Yes, all this misinformation and the statements he comes out with, for example, I don't care, it serves them right. That's not how a good and just president of the United States should act. And yes, Mr. President, I am older than you are, so I've been around for a while. Then he goes on to say, state governments must safeguard American elections in compliance with federal laws that protect Americans' voting rights. Comment, is that voting right for all the citizens of the United States, African Americans, Hispanics, legalized immigrants who have been in this country for 50 years plus? Because I still remember the Japanese concentration camps during World War II under FDR. And I'm certain their children and grandchildren also remembered that act of infamy. Federal law established a uniform election day across the nation for federal elections. It is a policy of my administration to enforce those statutes. Well, Mr. President, it's difficult to distinguish your statutes from the reality of the fact that you would like to go back to an all-male, white, blue-eye voting, wealthy status. No women, Jews, blacks, Hispanics allowed. Are you really afraid that we may overthrow you in the ballot box? Something for you to think about. Go on to say, yet numerous states fail to comply with those laws. But the problem is, Mr. President, is that a lot of those people are your people, not just the other people. So are you taking down your own house while taking down others with you? Additionally, federal laws such as the National Voter Registration Act and the Help America Vote require states to maintain an accurate and current statewide list of every legally registered voter in the state. Again, which voters? If they're Democrats, they're no good. If they're conservatives, they're dangerous. If they're liberals, who run them out of the country. This is from a gentleman who tells people, I would love to get American citizens put into the El Salvador jails. Foreign interference. Well, he ought to know. Russia's always on the top of my list, and China's no longer in his pocket. I don't think it ever was, actually. Above all, elections must be honest and worthy of the public trust. Well, I won't even deign to answer that one because any place where you're associated with, I do not trust. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. 2, enforcing the citizenship requirement for federal elections. Within 30 days of the date of this order, the Election Assistance Commission shall take appropriate action required in its national mail voter registration form. Documentary proof of United States citizenship consistent with, except if you're married and your last name does not agree with your original name on your birth certificate. How your married name can appear on your birth certificate when you've just been born could be a problem. You can change it on Social Security and you can change it on your passport. But if you're married under your new law, married women would not be able to vote. And why is it just married women? Why don't you put married men? A lot of men give up their name and adopt their wife's last name for various and sundry reasons. Why are women targeted always? A United States passport, an identification document compliant with the requirements of the Real ID Act of, that indicates the applicant is a citizen of the United States. An official military ID card that indicates the applicant is a citizen of the United States. A valid federal or state government issued photo ID of such ID indicates that the applicant is a citizen of the United States. The Secretary of State shall take all lawful and appropriate action to make available information from relevant databases to state and local election officials engage in verifying the citizenship of individuals registering to vote or who are already registered. Does that mean that if you have an ID of citizenship on your driver's license, that is also acceptable? It's government issued. Providing other assistance. The Attorney General shall ensure compliance with the requirements. The Attorney General should take appropriate action with respect to states that fail to comply with the list maintenance requirements of the National Voter Registration Act and the Help America vote. The Secretary of Defense shall update the federal postcard application pursuant to the Uniform and Overseas Citizenship absentee voting. Documentary proof of the United States citizenship as defined by Section 2. Proof of eligibility to vote in elections in the state in which voter is attempting to vote. And so it goes on. Now, every time I went to vote, and I've been voting since I turned legally 18, I've always shown my license or my passport, one or the other. Always. And I've lived in New York, New Jersey, Texas, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania. I always had to show a license or a passport to prove that I was a citizen of the United States. So why is this rankling me? That's another story. We'll get into it at another time. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. I hope you all have a good day. Yes, I lived 16 years in Houston and picked up some of their language as well. Special Reports is brought to you by two different companies. One, Conscious Research Solutions, what we call research assistants. Check us out at passionatworldtalkradio.com/research made simple blog. And it will give you all kinds of tips of how to do really good research. Plus, we offer a free 15-minute consultation to explain to you how the process works and what you get in return for the monies. And you also get a contract to sign and a form to fill out. And then the next one is sponsored by Ruby.ai. Go over to http:// with Lillian.com, and I'll take you over to Ruby.ai immediately. It gives you testimonials. It'll give you a demonstration of the software. Yes, it's all in there. You can get anything you want at Ruby.ai, and then sign up for a monthly subscription. You'll be delighted. Everybody's doing it. And in case you're interested, there's no such thing as a free lunch. You always have to pay in the beginning, in the middle, or that balloon payment. So save yourself the time and upsetness. Now, if you want to see this special report all over again, go over to passionworldtalkradio.com, scroll down until you come to State of Current Affairs, click on that. There's a Google link, click on that, and that will take you into the belly of the YouTube beast where you can see this special report and all our other podcasts. And while you're there, please make a donation to Passionate World Talk Radio Network. Passionate World Talk Radio Network. And there is a donation page. So when you go over to passionateworldtalkradio.com/donation, please, you want to keep one of the only woman-owned and operated internet talk radio station in the world that provides you with all the stories, news, and material you need to hear, if not once, but many times, to make sure you keep your freedom intact. Thank you all very much for joining us, and have a great weekend.